Yes.
Now we are live. Okay, here we are ready for more prosperity in our life. This is Unlimited Network Mastermind. We get together every Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and today is Saturday, July 16. Here we are, middle of the summer, enjoying, expanding, and growing all together here. So I'm very excited myself personally because I do love this book that we are studying right now, the Abundance book. Many of you already know and studying with us, but if you don't know, buy it, take it, read it. I mean, it's very powerful for simplicity and for depth, I will say, because it's really pushing us to explore different areas of our life, okay? And the idea that we have here is to let go of all what we are not, so who we truly are can shine through us. Okay, so that's easy to say. That's what we are practicing here. And the last Saturday we finished chapter 15, and we decided to go home and to have some to complete the homework. And I don't know whoever has done it, but for sure I have done it, and I want to open this mastermind, sharing what I discovered. For me, you know, like to sit down with yourself and to explore, and amazing how many times I wanted to do it, you know, and you know, other things, even to vacuum the house, you know, is more important apparently than to sit down, you know, and to look at you know, what really is going on when I invoke what topic or whatever, you know. So it's very beautiful to see that has to be a very clear priority in your life, to undo the old, you know, to really let go, to let go the old you, the limited, the fearful, whatever. And then it's true that the new one is right here. It's not something that I have to fabricate or think about it, okay? So I can see my responses differently. But last week we were talking, was a lot about abundance, so I was very intrigued because I'm just jumping to a new level in my life right now. Anne and I, we bought a beautiful house, incredible ocean view in the middle of the jungle. I mean, it has to rehab, but it's a great investment, I believe. And it's a you moment, you know, because I love the idea. It came to our lap in a magical way. It's incredible how things can, you know, come together. And I don't know, I was saying, you know, this is meant to be because it's so easy. I have two options: or my wings open and I know how to fly, or I'm going to crash on the bottom, you know. So it's very interesting to see, you know, every time that, you know, you expand a little bit, there is a lot of unconscious material coming up. And I love to have this tool that we are learning here to let it go, to release it, you know, instead of deny it, not see, not look at it, or whatever. So I think this time very interesting, and I hope that you can feel inspired with just go for it, because at one point things start to switch, and let's be ready for that, okay? But my sharing from last week and was about taking 100% responsibility. That for me is huge. It's something that you know, I always enjoy the idea, of course, and you know, when I feel hurt or whatever, I don't like to, you know, to say it's my 100% responsibility, but the truth is that it is. And you start to release really when you face your life and you say, okay, this is not, you know, relaxing, is not the way that I want this to go, in a sense of, you know, connection with your true nature, with your peaceful being. For sure, Anne and I, we are like playing with this and noticing many things. So something that I noticed last week with the taking 100% responsibility and asking this deep question that was, wherein did I cause my lack of abundance? That was like, excuse me? Okay, let's take responsibility. And it's funny because I found many things, I don't know, to give you an example, loyalty to my mom, you know, like, gosh, if I, you know, fly, whatever, she will be wrong, you know, what she had said, and I don't want that, you know, things like that. But a lot of my stuff goes to the wanting approval. And it's interesting, and I want to highlight again, please print this page and become familiar with the different emotions that point to different columns here. But at the end, all of them end up in three possibilities or sources, let's say, that is wanting approval. That is really my case, I think, from all the abandonment that I experienced as a little girl or whatever. Wanting control, you know, like I catch myself again, you know, from fear, I want control, or wanting security. At the end, for me, for my sensation, all of them end up into wanting to be safe, you know, like wanting security and to, you know, don't feel that separation from the well-being that I am. But I think we are going to feel that well-being that I am by releasing who I am not. So I'm happy about that. And that's what I would like to say about that, was a lot of wanting approval. You know, I opened the window big time. I just allow that wanting approval and the sensation, you know, of needing, wanting security to and control. But I mean, the maximum, the biggest of them, I have all my circles here, is wanting approval, wanting approval. And I don't know if someone else would like to share something about this investigation. And if not, we continue. The chapter of today, that's going to be chapter 16, is super powerful. So let's see if someone wants to share something so we can jump into our next chapter. And welcome again, everyone. See if someone opens the microphone. Hi, Kanda.
I'll share. Hi. Good morning, everyone. I feel like I caused my lack of abundance through fear. Old, felt very old. And a lot of it had to do with safety and security, fear, but also approval was very large on there. And I grew up in a pretty controlling household, so control had to play a factor, but when I was doing my homework, it wasn't the top thing. I think the fear was first, safe. Not so much safety, but security. And security and approval were the two motivators, or so bottom line, common denominators. And it brought up a lot of things. And I realized that I was pretty kind of assured of not getting what I wanted. Not always, but it seems that way to a small child, since I was back into small child thinking some of this. And fear of success, that I feel like that was a key piece of it. That I grew up in my family of origin, you couldn't go past a certain point. You couldn't have, my dad was a professional golfer, and so he had charge of country clubs or country club and also a municipal golf course during my childhood. And you couldn't have a nicer car than the people who ran the place, you know, than board members. Or you know, so there was an externally imposed limit on how far you could go with your own success. And yet, on the other hand, he was very successful in his milieu, in his world. So it's something I'm still considering a little bit, but it was sure felt good to do the releasing on it. Any mental cogitations I have seem to disappear pretty quickly when I've done the releasing work. So I'm glad for that. Next.
Thank you, Candace. Anyone else? Yes, Fran?
I think I'm up, yeah. You know, Candace, I can relate totally to what you said, because that's what I wrote down. I have a very clear understanding now of several events in my past, and a lot of it stems from maternal influences in my, you know, precognitive youth. My mother has always had a negative opinion about people with money. Very strong. Everybody that's wealthy is evil. They've gotten it by ill-gotten gains. She just doesn't get that people truly do earn and deserve their wealth. So I grew up with that attitude, and the lightning rod moment for me was in my first year of practice, I went out and I was very successful right out of the gate. And we bought our first store-bought sailboat in May of my first year of practice. And it was a magnificent yacht. It was 18 feet long. And it had a little cuddy cabin on it. Nancy and I used to weekend on that with our 2 infant sons. And we had that from May to August, where we bought a 26-foot diesel inboard sloop. And now we were really uptown. I mean, this really, I could actually stand up inside this thing, you know, and it had a galley and everything. So we were at dinner, and I mentioned to my mother that we had just bought this new sailboat. And she immediately snapped her head up and said, "Oh, Franny, I know a lot of doctors, but no doctors that I know have ever bought 2 sailboats in their first year of practice. You must be charging your patients too much." I crashed my practice for 18 months from that day forward, laboring, suffering to be what I considered seeking approval now in retrospect from my mother. And it's been a recurrent theme ever since then. So I view the whole episode, when I really came again to the next crisis point where I was really earning a lot of money and I was ready to be in that absolute sweet spot of 10 or 15 years where all of your debts are paid off and your practice is at its maximum and your income was at its maximum. Because I had this thing running like a Swiss watch. Very remunerative, very high flow through as net personal income. And so I had to manufacture a way to get out of that affluence because you know, rich people are evil people, and I'm obviously overcharging my patients, even though I charge way less than the freaking incompetent general practitioners in the city, as I came to learn afterwards, you know. But at any rate, that's all water under the dam, because that was the source of it, is that I have had this underlying self-limiting belief that wealthy people must be intrinsically evil people. And not wishing to be viewed as intrinsically evil, I have always hovered on the edges of true abundance. Interesting. Back to you guys.
Wow. Yes, interesting. Thank you so much for sharing us and inspiring us to 100% responsibility. That is the case here. We are going up to this direction, you know, is to realize, like, gosh, you know, I was the one choosing that mother. I was the one choosing that kind of thought. For what? And I would say, to release it. Okay? So we are very close to who we truly are here. Thank you so much, Dr. Fran. And I don't know, Arne, you want to share something, or we jump to the chapter? Yes.
Yeah, I have a few words here. My source is further back in early childhood or even in pregnancy time, and my mother was 15 years old, and so I kind of felt I was not in the right place. I shouldn't have been there. I felt guilty. The whole world around outside tried to make abortion, and I tried. My safety was at stake. So my growing up and into my life, the only way I can have the right to have any abundance is to work hard, to earn it. I have to earn and override the guilty feeling. So I have to be in control in order to feel safe and in order to get my that's good to release that.
Wow, powerful people we are here. Thank you so much, Arne. I see that between all of us here we cover pretty much, you know, different aspects that we are ready to let go, and we are humans, you know, getting into our spiritual truth. And I think we are ready, Dr. Fran, to jump into the next chapter. That for me, I was reading it and it's like, oh my gosh, I love to understand more, how simple and complicated I made it until now. So let's go for it.
All right, yeah. This is a really totally exciting chapter, and one that resonates with me greatly, as you'll come to learn as we go through it. So, chapter 16 in this marvelous book, The Abundance Book by Lawrence Crane. Nervousness, well, no, chapter 16, the title is The Mind and How It Works. Nervousness is caused by wanting two opposing things at the same time, one consciously and the other subconsciously. The battle is resolved when you make the subconscious desire conscious. On the other hand, if you know what you are, there will be no conflicts. You can do that through seeking. It's not necessary to understand the negative. It is far better to be positive. Be yourself. Lester Levinson.
One second. Can I jump in, Dr. Fran? I just want to share
Absolutely.
something that I'm like with joy inside, because this just sentence here helped me to understand my entire. But it makes me understand the entire last week. So I want to share that because I think it's going to help all of us. To me, for sure, to integrate even more. But last week, we find this wonderful deal, beautiful home, new level of life from one bedroom, beautiful home that we have here to a 3-bedroom, immense porch, like ocean view, and inside the flowing and everything is going wonderful. And I'm listening to myself saying to Arne, oh my gosh, it's like, I feel so nervous, it's like, oh my gosh, all day long. I was for one day, full day, and then like yesterday again, and then today I'm reading and it's so beautiful, and I want to highlight that, okay, because consciously, of course, I can see and notice that everything is flowing and I want this house and it's beautiful and I jump into the deal and I trust and I keep growing prosperity and all is well. Unconsciously, okay, that is what it says here. I have a conflict. Consciously, I want the house. Unconsciously, like, no, oh my gosh, how we are going to pay it, how we are going to do it. And I was like, so conflicted. So this is something that happened in my life a lot. I'm familiar right now. I recognize it, But in the past, I could not approach this conflict as two different messages that I had in my mind. So what happened is that I sabotage, the success. At the end, the unconscious mind has more power than my own, if you want, capacity to stay focused in what I want and to clean up the rest. That's something that I start to see that I have power now. So I want to share that because for me it's so real, and it is, and I'm pretty sure that, at every moment, and for it to be released. So this first sentence to me is like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Sit down and know that there is this inner conflict, between what consciously I want and my unconscious, that is all what I release here, loyalty to my mom, who you think you are, blah, blah, blah. Open the window and out. So thank you so much for this sentence.
Oh, it took no effort at all. Oh, I love this book, man. I love this panel. All right, the map of consciousness. As you can see on the following page, the map of consciousness consists of a wedge-shaped diagram divided into 3 broad bands, each of which corresponds to one of the 3 states of consciousness. At the base is the state entitled body. To the left is the phrase extremely limited you. This state is where many of us spend a great deal of time. It is one in which we experience ourselves as primarily defined by the boundaries of our physical being. It is the lowest of the three states and is identified by a very active mind that spends a lot of time thinking about things and doing very little. It's also a stage in which there are isolated moments of pleasure in a landscape that includes a lot of confusion, procrastination, sorrow, and pain. The second stage is entitled mind separation. To the left is the phrase limited you. This stage is characterized by a less frantic mind, fewer thoughts, and some direct knowing. Life lived from this perspective is characterized by a general condition of well-being and happiness, punctuated by moments of extreme doubt, sorrow, and pain. Here, one is identified with the mind and ego. It is a higher and more empowered state than the first, but still this state is characterized by a lot of effort and doingness. The top stage is entitled the natural state. This is the all-knowing, all-powerful, abundant, imperturbable stage. To the left is the phrase real you, and below that the word beingness. This is the free natural state Lester and other wise beings have described. It is a state without limit and boundary, one in which identification with the limits of body and mind have been dropped, and one discovers the joy and peace of beingness. It is also that natural state in which one can manifest true success, well-being, and lasting abundance. So let's take a few minutes and really look at this individually, and I'm going to read the map of consciousness chart starting with the top state, the real you, the unlimited you, beingness, I, all-knowing, no thinking, intuitive only, oneness, no problems, quiet only, solutions, yes I can, abundance of everything, havingness, no lacking, open, easy, no effort, no clutching, peace, acceptance, courageousness. So, how many of us can identify at least parts of the time in ourselves being in that state of consciousness known as I? And reflect on that. Develop a sense of gratitude that you have actually gotten to that point, even if fleetingly up to now. Monica, go. Were you raising your hand to say you've been there?
I just want to say that, yes, often, you know, I love it, and I feel very, you know, like lately I notice a lot of serenity, you know, and very peaceful, and right now I feel shaken with this new level of expansion, but I totally enjoy the opportunity to release, really. I'm in love to the awakening path, you know, but it's beautiful to recognize it, and I love that you start with this step first, because we normally try to entertain ourselves with you know, being more lower, that I also experience myself too often. But you know, every time, and especially here in nature, when you can feel and sense and listen even to the peaceful, you know, and you notice, you know, gosh, you know, I am peace, you know, this is peaceful. So I'm familiar with this, I love it, and it's kind of, how to say, like inevitable for me to point to this state all the time. That's what I want, you know, it's really strong call, so think of it.
Well, you know, I don't understand why you're nervous at all, because you're only on uncharted land, literally in a jungle. What could go wrong? All right.
We have monkeys everywhere. We have all kinds of creatures and the nature, and we are in nowhere. It's all up to God here in nature.
It may take you a few months to convince them that they're no longer welcome to live in that house, that it has new residents. All right, let's look at the second state of consciousness, mind. The unreal you, the limited you, characterized by questions, confusion, doubts, thinking I'm releasing, no trust, no satisfaction, desires, problems, struggles, I can't, lies, effort, and clutching. It's characterized by pride, anger, lust, and fear on this all-important pages 42 and 43. Interesting. So how many of us have found ourselves predominantly in that state of consciousness, or occasionally rise to that level or sink back to that level? And find gratitude that you do have the ability to move from state to state, because that's the very essence of truth within us, is that we are all-powerful beings in total control of everything in our lives, most importantly, our state of consciousness. And then finally, let's look at the third state, called body. The extremely limited you. And it's characterized by body hurts, tired, sick, headaches, sleepy, no energy. All of them somatics, psychosomatics or true somatics. And it's characterized by the three lowest categories in the imperturbability chart, as this is called: fear, grief, and apathy. And so it's the body state where you don't allow yourself to understand or view yourself as anything but a meat body. And the lowest state of beingness or consciousness as a body is at the bottom of the page there. It's called dead. You know, so whether you're consciously dead or whether you are physically meat dead, dead is not where it's at. Now, it's very interesting. I studied Scientology for 13 years and rose quite high in their training and completed a lot of courses, a lot of auditing, a lot of study. And this chart, the chart of imperturbability, and this map of consciousness chart are synonymous in a greatly expanded tone scale that we learned and studied through Scientology. So maybe next Saturday I'll get a diagram of the tone scale and have it where I can hold it up in front of the screen, and you can see where in Scientology they've actually quantified each of these states of consciousness, starting with body death and all the way to enthusiasm or exhilaration as the highest state of being. So very, very interesting to have all these essential truths reinforced and reconfirmed by different authors with different terminology, different charts, all describing the exact same essential truth. Monica, do you have something?
Yes, you know me. You know it. Okay, so what I want to say is that is already a gift. Okay, like to me, it's like we all are. I think for sure, for myself, from my experience, I catch myself in the three levels here. You know, it's not like I am, you know, completely identified with the I, with source, you know, something like that. I see myself a lot into the mind and the body, but what I want to reflect is that it's already a gift for me to see, you know, like to be compassionate with my journey. grief and, you know, like no energy, you know, whatever it is that we experience in our physical body. Power us with the deep understanding that that is the awakening. You start to you start to wake up from this physical body because the constriction, suffering is too much. And at one point you say, okay, who am I? What this is life for? So I just want to acknowledge the journey itself, you know, and now awareness, and we can even have a diagram, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, I love it, you know, it's like where I am at. And if I am not in the I, you know, there is just something that I can release, you know. So it's beautiful. I think it's simple, and I want to say thank you to the book, to you, Dr. Fran, and to Lester, you know, that Lester that really help us, or I mean, give that information out, you know. So be compassionate, okay? It's not about being in the eye all the time because, I don't know, the mind thinks that it's bad or good to be here or there. You know, it's just how much we can let go of that identification, because we identify more with the open sky or the open window, you know. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, you made me think of an analogy that, you know, if you're just moving aimlessly with no destination in mind, you will always arrive at where you are. However, if you actually have a map, you can deliberately move towards a defined destination. And it was very interesting that you use this map of consciousness, and it is truly a map. It is a guideline. It is a route to the states that we seek. So, interesting. We include this map of consciousness at this point because we want you to see graphically what happened. Go ahead, Arnie.
Well, I actually have written a book myself called The Unlimited Breath. I have written a book myself called The Unlimited Breath Manual. In the state where everything is our natural state, where it's aliveness and perfection, and question state. We question the perfection. And we get into a doubt. Is that really true? And then that's a second state. The third state is answering to those questions. So we're into the statement state. And once this is a fact, the fact state, state of awareness. And from there we go down to that develops the emotional life. And once we resist our emotional life, we get into the physical life. And finally, when we resist our physical life, we die. So realizing where you are on the diagram, you know, I'm in my emotional life, my emotions, and go into towards death, or I can become aware of where my emotions came from, what kind of statements did I have. And then if I am in my statement awareness, I'm aware of what I'm think is the truth, then I look for where did these questions come from? Because in oneness, there are no questions. It just is. So this kicked me out of the oneness into doubting the oneness, wondering about the oneness, and it's not in the oneness, it's not in the now. So by observing those 5 states of awareness, we can know if we're going down or up into where we want to be.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And you know, I love the key word in your whole soliloquy, and you repeated it 4 or 5 or maybe even 6 times. And the key word is resistance. How many times have we talked about resistance and how articulate you were in describing the impact of resistance regardless of what level of consciousness you apply it. And the outcome of resistance is always to go backwards, to go down the scale. Resistance never allows you to move up the scale. So very interesting, as they used to say on.
I had a thought.
Go ahead, dear.
I had a thought too about how, particularly struck in this chapter about the value of contrast. And when one is in any one of these three states, you're fully there. Or I'll speak for myself. I'm fully there. There's nothing else going on. That's where I am. And learning to, you know, somewhere in life we start realizing there's choices and we can choose to feel better or worse. And instead of just kind of unconsciously following, oh, I read the newspaper, therefore downhill slide, or whatever. That the contrast is important, and I was just seeing that the book and this information is like oil on the hinges of the doorways between these states, because we learn how to open up from being totally in that dead zone, the fear, apathy, grief, to move at least up until, well, that dirty so-and-so, at least anger feels better than the grief. And then on upwards we climb, or we gradually, after being there for a while, we realize, hey, there's something a little better than this. That might be the level of the rat race, is the mind. So anyway, I'm just appreciating the oil on the hinges here.
What a great analogy. And yeah, you know, thank God for anger, because if that didn't exist as an emotion, I would have had no place to be for the preponderance of my life. and it seems to me that characterizes most males from probably 18 to 50, you know. And then we either perceive ourselves as having made it out, or we go right down into apathy and don't give a crap. You can't even get angry anymore about stuff. Oh, God, it's so funny, man, so funny. I wish I had, you know, there's an old Pennsylvania Dutch saying that we grow too soon old and too late smart. So, you know, and God knows I'm old. All right.
And
All right.
wise.
Yeah, well, you know, my age in horse years, I'd be glue. There's a sobering thought. At least I'd be holding stuff together. Oh, all right, let's move on here. When you experience your natural state, oh, wait, no, wait, I'm back up here. We want you to see graphically what happens to you as you begin to let go of negative thoughts, feelings, and emotions, RE, resistance. When you begin to move beyond the concepts of limitation into your natural state of beingness. I invite you to refer to it from time to time. You may even want to make a copy of it and hang it somewhere. It's a valuable graphic way to envision the goal you can achieve by using the release technique. And you know, the beauty of this little map, the maps are better the simpler they are. And this is a very simple map, and it would be very easy to post that up someplace and spot check yourself on where you are based on the descriptive behaviors on the right side of that chart. And rather than have a long, complicated, like, you know, page 42 and 43, the chart of imperturbability is an extremely valuable chart, but it's a daunting chart. You know, you're not going to look at that and instantly navigate it and find your place and find your way. It takes time to locate yourself on that chart. It takes virtually no time to locate yourself on the map of consciousness. So it is a powerful, very powerful tool. When you experience your natural state, you change only in identity and point of view. The results are imperturbability, tranquility, serenity, and abundance of everything. Now, let's look at what Lester had to say about the mind. The mind is simply the sum total composite of all thoughts. The mind becomes habitual. The subconscious mind is merely the thoughts we are not looking at now. That's a very interesting definition of the subconscious mind. That's exactly what we've been doing. We've been pulling them up, making ourselves conscious of it, and then releasing them. The subconscious mind is running us, making us the victims of habit. By discriminating, we take a look at our feelings, our subconscious thoughts, and just release them. You may have noticed that sometimes when you're doing advantages and disadvantages, the same answer comes up on both sides. Have you noticed that? No wonder we're fighting ourselves. By releasing on both sides, we open up the flow and move on freely with the inner clutching that often goes on when we are in conflict or confusion. The direction is still the mind. No, I'm sorry, the direction is to still the mind. Quiet the mind and you'll see your infinity right there. The more you quiet the mind, the more you feel the self and the better you feel. You feel as good as your mind is quiet. By now, you may be noticing that you're feeling quieter and quieter and nicer. That is the real you, that beautiful table covered up with dust that we spoke about earlier. You're beginning to see the real you. In your imagination, you have written and projected a cinema show of acts, actors, and audience on a screen and have lost sight of the fact that it is all in your imagination, your mind. Discover this and you'll discover the absolute truth. Mind distraction is the wanting more of the things of the world than the self. Mind distraction is the wanting more of the things of the world than the self. A thought is an assumption of lack causing a wish to fulfill it. Once you see what the mind is, you won't be subject to it anymore. The power of the mind is almost infinite. When there is only one thought, all that power is right there. The more you eliminate the mind, the more peaceful you feel. All minds are influencing each other. We're like sending and receiving signals. Whatever you think about someone, you might as well tell them about it, for you are sending a receiving signal over to them and they are picking it up. We call it a good vibe or a bad vibe. So I recommend that you release all the judgments you have and the thinking you have towards somebody, like somebody, and let it go. Very interesting part. Who has a comment about this? That the subconscious mind is merely the thoughts we are not looking at now.
I love it. I just love the simplicity of and the truth, and it's just what I was talking. Oh, I'm sorry, honey. I was talking. You have to mute. So I was just these last days with the jumping. You know, it's so amazing. It's like I'm purging. The fact that I decided to jump or something is like woo, such a revolution inside, and now I understand. It's just the unconscious, you know, thoughts that I have about, you know, like prosperity and, you know, and possibilities and ease and grace, because it's not something that I'm in alignment right now to do effort and to struggle. It's like doesn't fit anymore, you know, that frequency here, you know, something is stop, okay, and sit down and take the time. And something that I love of what you have read, Dr. Fran, is this mind distraction is the wanting more of the things of the world than the self. And to me, it's like, I don't know, the passion that I have for awakening is so strong, you know, like in the past, if someone was asking me, do you know, if you have only one choice, you know, do you want money or do you want love? And I remember, you know, I don't know, like, what do I want money because, you know, that's what I need to live here, you know, like, I remember, you know, about everything. And the more I'm growing, the more, if that is not the case, but let's say if we needed to choose between one or the other, my choice go 100% to love, to source, to, I call it God or whatever you want to call it, you know, but to love, capital letters, to the space, unlimited potential, you know, to my true nature. And that passion for that is really supporting me or helping me to go through this subconscious material that can be individual, and like now you were reading, you know, in collective even, you know, like sometimes, you know, it's like everybody's feeling fear, scarcity, and it's my opportunity to let it go in me, you know. So thank you for that. I just feel that this is so beautiful and very powerful. So choose self first, okay, capital letters. Thanks.
Anybody else?
Yeah, it's known. Yeah, it's quite known in the healing world that the subconsciousness is running the show, and it's the subconsciousness. How do you get in there? How do you open it up? And in my opinion, the subconsciousness consists of stuff that we are suppressing. It's really just a part of the conscious of the mind, but we put a barrier and pretend it's not there, and we put some stuff underneath that, and it comes either from fear, some traumas we had, or decisions we don't want to own up to. So through this accessing, we are trying to feel that and open it up, open up the gates to that subconsciousness, so that in the end we're not going to have a subconsciousness, because subconsciousness is not a destiny per se. It's not a box. It's not somewhere. It's only consists of how the size of the subconsciousness consists of how many things we've stored away. So as we open the door, they are released, and we are freer, and we have more access to the big mind. And actually, we are having experienced the fastest or easiest way to go into those very, very difficult openings of the subconsciousness is through the breath. And that's why we're doing the unlimited breath, where we do sessions where you add so much spirit into the body that it has to go to places it hasn't been before, and it literally opens up the barrier to the subconsciousness, so you see it. And we're lucky here actually, because on Tuesday we're gonna start a 10-day of unlimited breath intensive, and we're gonna do a breathing session every day. So by next Saturday, when we're gonna be here, we're gonna be in the middle of that, and having stirred our subconsciousness even on the deeper level, and maybe be on the open side of it, or maybe being right in the subconsciousness. So we'll see. But it's very powerful, and it's very experiential. You really do see it when you fill up yourself with energy through the breath. So we're looking forward to that. Have you guys with us on that journey this week?
That sounds amazing, Arne. That's just what an opportunity. I was just looking at this sentence again. The subconscious mind is merely the thoughts we're not looking at now, and thinking. This idea is at the root of, I think, the impetus for my desire and craving for spiritual growth, because whatever I had going on in my life, it was like different programs running at once, and they'd kind of run over each other and garble, and I wasn't getting consistent results. And then that I am in the middle of all of it, who was the observer and the one who held space for all of this to happen, gently and quietly and gradually, slowly it seems, started waking me up to the fact that I could change things, and that I wanted to, and that life wasn't out of my hands. And I almost used the word control there, but it wasn't the same as wanting to control something. It was just wanting to have enough of a handle on it that I would get desired results instead of who knows what. I needed to learn how to become familiar enough with those subconscious thoughts that they weren't running me, and that we were at least companions on the road and having a conversation rather than them popping out of the bushes and saying, hey, guess what? You thought this was happening. No, no, we're doing it this way. So that was a good encouragement for me to turn my focus, for me personally, more toward the divine and toward something that is consistent. So very interesting. Just one sentence. You guys, if you haven't read the book, oh my gosh. This is a good book. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm going to focus in on one sentence as well, and Monica's already reread that for us. Mind distraction is the wanting more of the things of the world than the self. And there's a phenomenon that you learn, again, in superliteracy of misunderstoods. If you misunderstand a word, your mind stops and locks on that word, and you literally don't allow it to move forward past that point. This is what happens to kids when they miss a concept early in an education path, particularly in math or whatever, where they get a misunderstood that's never cleared up for them, and they never understand anything fully from that point forward. So I stumbled on that phrase, mind distraction, which means that it piqued me. There was something about it that I didn't immediately grasp the full meaning of that. So I looked at the word distraction. That's an interesting word. And so it behooves us to define that. To distract is to change focus, to shift point of focus, to literally change your mind in this case. So mind distraction refers to the action of the mind changing course. The mind being drawn off its current course or being shifted in its current focus. So if we read it that way, it starts making more sense. So if the mind's distraction is the wanting more of the things of the world, wanting more of the material, physical aspects of the world than the self. Well, the phrase that's not written there, but which should be dubbed in, is mind distraction is the wanting more of the things of the world than wanting the things of the self. And I think if we dub that in, that gives this sentence its true meaning, and one that can then be understood, because it's very easy for ourselves to have our mind distracted by the things of the world. We can focus on that, money, trees, cars, property, whatever it is, and it pulls us off of an understanding that the only thing we ever truly have to master is maximizing the things of the self, our true, essential, eternal, spiritual beingness. So why don't we end off today with a little discussion on that and comments, and then next Saturday, I'm really looking forward. There's a whole thing about being clear, and I'm really looking forward to doing these exercises and expanding on this concept of clear. So, who has a comment for us?
Thank you so much, Dr. Fran. I love what you said, and in my words, or my experience, I would say more, is almost like, you know, when you engage with this world, with this appearance, physical forms, you know, like individualities, you know, from trees to human beings to cars, like you were saying, or whatever, you know. To me, it's like when you engage with that form, with that physical world, you know, from self, capital letters, there is a sense of connection that included there. So I think it's when that things become the things of self, you know, when there is no separation, there is no fear about it, there is just allowance and an expression of abundance and prosperity, like, you know, abundance of stars, you know, like, well, abundance of cars, abundance of houses, abundance of trees, abundance of everything, love and relationship, whatever that we want to put there, you know. So I do love, you know, like to really check into my heart, you know, it's like, okay, you know, what is the drive force of my life, you know, is to really make a living and surviving in this physical world, or to have this physical world as an expression of myself, you know, it's like, is this physical world going to make me happy, or my inner happiness and connection with Source is going to be expressed in these forms, you know, in this physical world. And it's something that is switching in myself, really, really is like the total permission to enjoy this physical world, you know, like total, there is no limit. A creative power. It's almost like we are gods and goddesses, you know, like, oh my God, well, just to say that, maybe it's kind of, you know, poetic, but the sensation, you know, of, you know, what is my real call here, you know, is to make it in this world and to have this title. Remember how much release we have done before, to have the title, or to figure it out, or to be smart, or to be this, or to be that, or to be, capital letters, and then to enjoy all forms, you know, from the peaceful being. And I love to recognize that, you know, that passion that I have in my heart, and to see that doesn't mean that we are not going to enjoy the physical world. For me, the opposite, you know, much more free, you know, any kind of limitation. Things keep changing, and I'm safe because I am capital letters, you know. Ah, exciting, thank you.
Monica, very well said. Can you hear me? No? Yeah, you can hear me? Yeah, okay, so very well said. One quick comment. I think there is a trap, it can be a trap in the sentence that says we need to still the mind, because the only one who can say that is the mind. Spirit would never say that. So when we are in the I, when we are in the perfection, when we are in the now, we are in the now, and we don't. If the mind is there, it doesn't take a focus. It's like somebody is talking in the room over there. But if I'm going to focus to over there, are quiet and still, then all my effort from being in the consciousness, in the oneness consciousness, is now shifted, pretending to be God at work to stop the mind. But it's really the mind who took over and masqueraded as God. So the one way to experience the oneness, the Godness, is to focus on the oneness and Godness. And if there is someone in the back room in our oneness, then then the stillness will appear automatically. So the focus on stilling the mind. If we focus on stilling the mind, it's actually the mind making more busy. If we focus on the oneness, the mind will just filter away by itself. And I think many people misunderstand that. And especially as the wording goes, we need to still the mind. But that's a misconception, in my opinion. IMO.
I like that. It's the difference between allowing and being the doer. Excuse me for interrupting.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I don't know if can you hear me well? Because I was, yes, okay, good. So thank you. I think it's a really important point. And the other day I posted I did a post on Facebook that was a Tibetan monk, really. So I was thinking about you, Arne. But it was kind of a video, very well set up, you know, and said, you know, just take a deep breath, you know. It's like the monkey mind is going to be blah, 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 blah all the time, you know. But when you know that you are bigger than the mind, let's say that space where the mind appears, okay, allow the instead of from space to allow what is in the moment, and that melted, you know. That is something that I experience often with the release, you know, when I stop and I'm even curious, you know, what really is going on here, and then I have to go to my thinking, you know, like, what is this, you know, and then oh my gosh, wanting approval again. Who says again? It's funny, you know, it's like, here we are. I mean, in the mind quarter, you know, like, okay, here I am, you know. So very loving and gentle to me. It's like, okay, you know, oh, welcome, you know, let's open the window. So very gentle is my word lately, you know, very gentle. It's not that I want to kill you or I have to get rid of you, you know. It's that I distinguish, I have more power of choice to distinguish, you know, if that quality of thought is in alignment or not. And if it's not, open the window and let it go, you know. So I love what you said, Arne. Thank you. Thank you. And I think with this, Dr. Fra, maybe something before we complete, and if not, we are really 2 minutes past, but let's see if you have something to say.
Oh, just real quick, you know, I can understand, Arnie, why it's so difficult to quiet the mind, because first you have to move to Nepal, then you have to find a rock prominence somewhere in the Himalayas or Himalayans and sit there for years staring out at the vastness of nothingness, and finally you will quiet your mind. So I don't know, how many of us can do that? Well, thanks everybody. I'm looking forward to our talks next week. I am thoroughly enjoying vicariously experiencing your journeys through this exercise, and greatly appreciate the facilitation of my own journey through yours.
Thank you, Doc Fran. How beautiful! I love it. And thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you. And I just want to highlight here that if you want to have more deeper connection with us, or you want to be in the panel, please email Arne, A-R-N-E, at unlimitednetwork.com. For more, go to unlimitednetwork.com/archive, and you will find all the recordings from all the videos. But we also have this this concrete video under unlimitednetwork.com/mastermind for the entire week. Okay, so you have the support, the opportunity, the inspiration. Up to you if this is your call or not, and you fit in this frequency. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So have a wonderful week, and see you the following Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. I love you. Thank you.
Much love, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, thank you.